Hello and welcome. My name is Paul Zukowski, and in this video I'm going to be explaining the IEP process and how that relates to parents and guardians, their responsibilities and their roles in developing an IEP for a student with special needs. First off, parent guardians and students are heavily involved in the IEP process. Special education is not a decision made in a vacuum. It's done with the full partnership of parents and students to best support students in development of the IEP. It is not made without their consent, without their input. This is an entire communication that's done with a team of teachers, admin, parents, and the students are also invited to be in these meetings as well. So the IEP is something that's truly tailor-made to every single student. It's not made without any consent from the parents or input from the students, since it is their lives. Now, the referral process for how this begins is that parents are entitled to the ability to refer their child to access special education. Each district also has programs set up to help identify these students called Child Find and get students tested to see if they qualify for special education. So before we even begin creating an IEP, we first have to identify which students need those. Those can be self-identified by parents or by the school during this referral process. Once the student has been referred by their parents or through Child Find, they can begin the evaluation process to see whether or not they are eligible to receive access to special education services. That can include tests and consultations with specialists and with the school's psychologist, where they will go and get tested to see if they have certain criteria, where they're maybe low in their reading or their math scores, and then those are evaluated by the school psychologist to see if those are accounted for by disabilities. The eligible disabilities that are protected under IDEA, the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, are autism, deafblindness, deafness, emotional disturbance, hearing impairment, intellectual disability, multiple disabilities, orthopedic impairment, other health impairment, specific learning disabilities, speech language impairment, traumatic brain injury, and visual impairment. So once the school psychologist has gone through the entire referral process and done the evaluation with the tests, they compare them to see which of these 13 categories that are protected by IDEA, the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, that the student qualifies for services for. Once that evaluation has been complete and that the student does in fact qualify, that's when the IEP meeting begins. And that's again that partnership between the parents and the administration and the students and the teachers. Within the IEP, the individual education plan, those parents and teachers and students and admin will all work together to create a specialized plan that is going to identify the needs of the student and project how they're going to work forward through them. So that includes present levels, which is going to be evaluating where's the student at right now, annual goals, where they're going to be looking at what specifically does the student want to work on. An example could be something as simple as improving by 20% their reading scores or the reading accuracy. Student with dyslexia may want to work on their ability in reading and writing. Measuring and reporting progress. There are specific criteria for how they're going to collect data for measuring and seeing if those goals are being met. Special education, so what kind of services are going to be provided for the student to help attain those goals. Supplementary aids and services, that can be a school psychologist can recommend a therapist or a specialist to come into the classroom and actually assist the student one-on-one. That could be other things such as accommodations to the learning environment. The extent of non-participation, so it's written down in the form in the IEP, exactly to what extent the students will be participating in their IEP and how much they are going to be committing to this. And accommodations in assessment, so if the student going to have a writing assessment, do they need to have an audio example for it? Do they need to have something that's going to supplement their education in that way? For ongoing communication, again, this IEP is not just made in a vacuum, and it's not just made once and done. This is a recurring conversation that happens every year. So it's an annual review where the parents and the admin and teachers get back together and they always talk and go back through these conversations. So at there they go with goal setting, and they also have quarterly progress monitoring, which is in between these annual review periods, where the teachers will collect data and see if the students are progressing towards those goals. And if good progress is being made, they'll communicate that with the parents. And if progress is not being made, they'll also communicate that with the parents so that there's an ongoing conversation so that if things are working or if they're not, everyone is in the loop and knows what's going on. The teacher's role in this, as they are representing the student, especially in these meetings, the student's going to be representing themselves, hopefully, if they are present, but if not, the teacher is going to be there representing the student and trying to do it in an accurate manner that is appropriate to the student's actual performance and helpful. They're representing the school, so they need to be professional in how they handle and carry out these IEP meetings. And another component that is very important for the teachers to maintain with this is confidentiality. Student information, especially with special needs and disabilities, is extremely personal information. And so administration and teachers are always handling this with the utmost respect and care, making sure that there is no way for this information to be leaked or shared without the student's consent, without the student being the one or the parents being the ones who are leading the way. So that can include printing in isolated locations, locking the IEP documents in a secure location as well. But confidentiality and strict professionalism is always maintained in the IEP. Thank you.